Hey LinkedIn, welcome back to our series, which we call The Journey of Building a Mobile App. This is episode 4, where we're going to talk about MVPs and 5 points for startups to consider when building an MVP. If you guys missed the last 3 episodes, click the little Reptile apps LinkedIn thingy above me. You guys can see some carousel posts and some blog style posts, which go into the points that we discuss in the series and the videos into a little bit more depth, according to our industry expert, Graham Duffel, the founder of Reptile. So without further ado, let's get into point 1 of this video. So point 1 is a pretty obvious one, which is how much is it going to cost you? You obviously don't want to burn all your capital into building a prototype. So let's say you want to build some revolutionary kind of vacuum cleaner. You need to build a prototype to check your idea actually works, right? So the founder of Dyson actually went through over 5,000 prototypes of his bagless vacuum cleaner until he came to a version that actually worked and could go to market. So this can be the same with a mobile app. So imagine trying to build this revolutionary idea without any type of prototype or minimum viable product you can iterate on. Sounds ridiculous, right? So if the app is a secondary part of your product, why wouldn't you defer it? If your business is selling insurance in some new kind of way through an app, then surely your investors would be more focused on the insurance product than the delivery, which would be the app, right? As we all know, it's really easy to get hung up on the wrong things as a founder. The second kind of cost would be things like your time, your focus, and your energy. If you're an insurance wizard, it's highly unlikely that you'll be an app building wizard too. Focus on your core skill and come back to the app later, or outsource it to someone whose core skill it is. And this leads us to our next thing, which is, what is an MVP anyways? So you've decided to do your MVP as an app. Let's talk about what your boundaries are. So your vision of a minimum will probably be more elaborate than what your investors or what your customers actually need. So to explain, in the MVP world, sometimes less is more. Less is slick and fast and leaves them wanting more. Overfill the product and it may end up being clunky and slow. So let's say your business calculates the best insurance rate for your house based off of a picture. Not actually a bad idea, don't steal that from me. The MVP basically needs to be a photo upload button and a page that shows the calculation results. The rest will be peripheral and can come later. How did Google start? A search button in the middle of a screen. The third point is, does it have to work or can it be purely conceptual? This is a really good question I would urge any MVP app builder to ask themselves. Clearly in the case of the home insurance app, trademarked, you have to link the MVP to your calculation algorithm via API. It's going to be the functionality of this MVP that sells the idea. If Reptile was to build you that MVP, you could lay out the app on screens of your own, and we would just help you connect the APIs to your backend to send the picture and pull the results. If your business isn't reliant on unique functional technology, then you could probably build an MVP using only content and designs, which in Reptile's world costs you absolutely nothing to set up. Let's say you're offering a unique destination holiday solution. Fill your app with beautiful photos and descriptions of locations, which is actually a really simple job for any designer. The book button doesn't actually need to be connected to anything in the MVP because everybody knows what a book a holiday button does. If you want, you can include some demo screens to show what that looks like after pressing the book a holiday button. So now that we've discussed some pretty basic things about the foundations of MVPs, the fourth point is going to be discussing what takes an MVP to the next level. So the traditional way to build an MVP would be to design all your screens in a tool like Figma and then export them as images and then give them to somebody to recreate those images in code as screens for an actual app. And this way is really, really expensive and takes a lot of time. So Reptile actually lets you design your app using our CMS, which is our front-end drag and drop tool, and then compiles those designs into actual working apps, saving all that time and money that you would have spent on sending those images you designed in Figma to a developer. But before you build your app, you can test and try out the designs on an actual mobile device to make sure the designs work as expected. We call this feature our preview app. Whether you use Reptile or another solution, make sure you use a platform where you can do your designs on the platform instead of doing them externally and having to start all over again in code. So from there, your built app will need to run the intended functionality. This could all work within the app and usually requires bespoke engineering. More likely, it will run server-side, and be connected to the app via an API. This will also need setting up, which we at Reptile can help with too. So last but not least, our final point in discussing MVPs would be publishing the MVP to stores. The worst thing you can do is build your MVP in one way and then have to start from scratch with your production app. So before you begin, make sure your developers have chosen a solution that can take you all the way to publishing and beyond. You also want to make sure that your app will be accepted by the stores. They are stupidly rigorous these days with their terms and conditions. In fact, they are also just stupid and can reject apps and never explain why, which makes no sense. We currently have a client who's had their app on the Play Store for 5 years, which Google is rejecting because of some sort of impersonation policy violation. And it seems it's impersonating itself. You can get your app reviewed and published for closed testing without making it live to the world, as you never know what reason they might find to object to your app. We recommend you do this as early as possible with your MVP. In summary, the stores can be really tricky, so make sure that you've tested your app's acceptance into the stores as early as possible. So that concludes episode 4 of our journey of building a mobile app. The last episode, episode 5, will be out hopefully next week. We really hope that we've been able to provide you guys with some really helpful value. If you want to know anything more specific about how these points apply to you and your business, and you want to have more of a one-on-one, please feel free to click the Calendly link above. We're more than happy to chat to you. It costs absolutely nothing, and maybe we can, hold your hand a little bit and help you validate some of the ideas that you've got before you sink any resource into it whatsoever. And maybe we can help you find the right solution for the type of app that you're building. Even if that's not us, we'd be more than happy to help. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for episode 5.